shafted. There's a YouTuber named Frank who runs a channel called Exploring Abandoned Mines, and it is exactly what the name says. There are tons and tons of videos on this channel of Frank exploring creepy mines and explaining the architecture as he walks around with a head-mounted camera. Before we go any further with the #1 video on this list though, let me just say that Frank has a long history of serious videos, I mean dozens upon dozens of them, where nothing out of the ordinary happens, and he generally comes across like an honest guy who does not seem like the type of person to play a prank at all whatsoever. With that said, of all of the very legitimate looking videos on his website, there are 2 videos in particular that stand out from the rest. These are the 2 videos that document his paranormal experiences while he was at an abandoned mine in Nevada. In 2013, Frank decided to explore the abandoned Hornet Mine. At first he writes that this mine shaft is from the 1800s, but after doing some more research later on, he says in one of the videos that he found out it was actually from the 1970s or 1980s. Anyway, when he gets to the Hornet Mine, he takes one look inside of the entrance and quickly determines that it looks way too menacing to go very deeply into. But since he came all the way out there, he figured that he would go in just a little for a quick peek. As I ventured hesitantly down the tunnel, he later recounts, it felt more and more wrong. He describes almost immediately feeling a quote-unquote negative energy. He doesn't get much further into the shaft before he becomes sufficiently sketched out enough to want to leave. Just a few more feet and I'll go, he reasons with himself. Frank shines his light down the tunnel for one final look. He sees a long row of chains that start in front of him and extends further and further down the length of the tunnel until it becomes completely pitch black even under his high-powered flashlight. At this point he writes that quote-unquote, I felt as if something was watching me, something that was sinister. Swallowing his fears for just one moment longer, Frank bravely turns around to film an artistic shot of the light as it pours forth from the entrance. When he turns back around, however, he is horrified to come face to face with plenty of evidence that he's not alone. All of the chains were motionless before he turned around, but now, one of the chains in the far back is swinging wildly as 2 closer chains sway slightly as well. It's as if something from deep within the mine had been running towards him at a fast rate of speed and then had slowed down as it got closer. Frank feels the temperature drop all around him and wisely decides to get out of there fast. However, Frank was brave enough to return to the Hornet Mine next year to conquer his fears once and for all. This time he was determined to go all the way to the back of the mine. And what he experienced when he got there was a million times more scary and surreal than anything from his first foray. Frank should have known trouble was afoot when a thick mist appeared out of nowhere and surrounds him about 5 minutes into the video. But he chooses to ignore it and continues to talk about the Hornet Mine's history and design at length while traveling deeper. He reaches the end of the mine shaft without much trouble at all, and he is taking a final shot of the area when something utterly insane and not of this world interrupts him. Out of nowhere, a haunting voice echoes all around Frank. In terms of volume, the voice sounds distant, but also somehow close at the same time. The voice is heavily annoyed, as if they are giving Frank a ghostly lecture, or even giving him one final warning. Frank's reaction is very authentic during these horrible events. He cusses without thinking at first, then he stops to listen for only a moment more. When the voice starts to talk to him some more, he immediately turns around to leave instead of sticking around. It really does not seem like he is acting in the slightest bit. As Frank is leaving, the voice finishes talking, and Frank hears other strange noises. He describes these noises as machinery, but other YouTubers have commented that it definitely sounds like a French police horn, which would have absolutely no place in a Nevada mine, and only makes this video even stranger. Viewers also note that the voice sounds like a woman speaking English, but with a very strong French accent. After listening to the video countless times, this is what they agree she says. Why trespass? Are you prepared to die? Who are you? You went too forward near us. Now go. Frank certainly did go after that. He headed straight out of the mine shaft and onto YouTube, where he uploaded the haunting footage that would eventually make #1 of this week's Chills.
chain is swinging back there. Don't know if you can see that in the video or not. Look. What the is that? I don't know what that was, but there was a sudden blast of cold air, and I'm getting out of here.
truck. This footage comes from one of the longest tunnels in Russia, which is also one of the leakiest tunnels as well. Not a good combination at all. Crashes happen here very often as a result, and there's plenty of surveillance footage to go along with as cars, vans, and even buses hit the slippery road and careen straight into walls. There's one brutal accident in particular, however, that's completely unexplainable. On the day of the accident, the road surface is actually dry for once and traffic is flowing smoothly. A large truck is seen heading in the far right lane when, all of a sudden, a second truck heading in the opposite direction hits the first one on the right side dead on. It almost looks like an ordinary car accident at first, but there's just one thing. There's no opposite lane for the second truck to come from. In fact, there's no room in the tunnel for the second truck to have come from anywhere at all. A frame-by-frame replay of the crash shows how closely the first truck hugs a wall on its right the whole time, and how the driver absolutely has a clear path ahead. All of the traffic is moving in the same direction too. The driver has nothing in his way 1 second, and then a split second later he is smashed from the right. It is as if the second truck literally passed through the wall to hit him, though there appears to be no structural damage to the wall itself. Since accidents are so common in this tunnel, this one received little media attention. However, the footage has gained a cult following that continues to puzzle the public to this day. Have there been so many accidents in this tunnel that it's now cursed? Or is there some other explanation for this infamous Russian phantom truck? Number 5. Tea Time from Beyond the Grave. Michelle Newbold is a shopkeeper who is in charge of the Whitstable Nutrition Center, a health store that's located in a seaside town in the United Kingdom. Like any good store owner, Michelle regularly reviews her CCTV surveillance footage whenever she gets the chance to make sure that no one is ever stealing, usually once a week. While she had often used the cameras to catch thieves in the past, the last thing Michelle ever expected to catch while reviewing the footage was a ghost, yet that is exactly what happened. In the security video, a customer is reading the label of a box of tea with his head down. Behind him, another box of tea slowly removes itself from the shelf and levitates in midair without him noticing at all. Yet, another box of tea flings itself to the floor, and when the customer bends over and puts it back to where it belongs, the other box of tea hits the ground. It is as if a cheeky poltergeist is playing a mischievous little game with him. For whatever reason, the customer does not mention anything to Michelle as he leaves the store. Maybe he was too dark. This video footage was uploaded 1 year ago by a YouTuber who calls themselves The Stork. In this video, a drone is flying high above Pismo Beach in California, innocently capturing the local West Coast natural scenery on tape. The drone watches as a dozen surfers or so catch white-crested waves. Then the drone turns around to record the beachfront. It's just another sunny day for this Californian drone enthusiast. That is, until an unexpected guest arrives. The drone turns around again to watch the surfers some more, and that's when it sees a shadowy figure that is lurking just below the water's surface. The shadow is a little hard to make out at first, but there is no mistaking that it's an animal of some sort. The way its tail moves from side to side is a dead giveaway that this is not a friendly dolphin, but rather a shark. None of the surfers notice at all as the shark curiously mills all around them, now only meters away. The drone itself is just as helpless too, completely unable to warn any of them of the grave danger that they were in. One of the surfers starts to swim deeper into the ocean to catch a wave, and the shark starts heading in that very same direction. The drone follows the action and zooms in on them both. You can only see the surfer sitting on his board as the shark inches closer and closer. The surfer appears completely oblivious to what's about to happen as he kicks his feet below, patiently waiting for a wave to ride back. A wave finally does come and the surfer shoots off just before the shark can get close enough to make a meal of him. As he escapes, the shark goes to where the surfer last was and lingers there for a bit longer. Then for some reason it decides to head very fast towards the shoreline as if to follow the surfer. It stops for a moment. It's almost as if it had lost the surfer's trail. Believe it or not, sharks are actually not big fans of eating human flesh. They prefer the taste of much different prey such as fish and seals. However, sharks have been known to curiously take a bite out of humans from time to time just to see how they taste. In most cases, an arm or a leg is the right size for a sampler. If that was the shark's intent, then this surfer was extremely lucky to have caught the wave when he did. He probably has no idea how close he came to becoming a test bite. Maybe he went directly back into the water after the footage ended, still unaware of the threat deep below. Number 6.